Test, test. Test, test.
Nobody else's? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the special meeting of the Planning Board to order for September 29, 2025. We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Carnegie? Here. Mrs. Masternardi?
Here.
Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donnelly?
Okay, so we need to move ahead with the approval of the minutes from the 11th of August, 2025 meeting. Does anyone have any comments or concerns? Can we get a motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Carnegie? Mrs. Masternardi?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the new business. Okay, do we want to proceed with the selecting of the third-party engineer for the Kapari Solar Project first? Okay, everybody agrees we're going to start with that. Okay, so selection of the third-party engineer for the Kapari Solar Project. Alex Serta?
Okay, so originally I selected two engineering firms that were local, and the board had indicated they wanted an out-of-town firm of more than an hour away from us. So I reached out to four entities. I've got four quotes for you. One is from Tectonic, one from Wendell, one from Barton and LaJudas, and the other from Napurella. They're all engineers. They all deal with stormwater of this nature. They all deal with municipalities from time to time. And looking at this in hindsight, Barton and LaJudas does have a local satellite office for their facilities department, so that may kick them out on the front end, being that they do have a local office. All right, I'm yelling into this thing. I'm trying. So Barton and Judas has a local office, which may take them out of the running. It's a facilities office, not a stormwater office. The Wendell quote actually had a dollar amount with it. I have to apologize. When I sent the email around, I thought their proposal was attached with it. You do have it in an email. They had a fee of around $55,000 to do the work. I told them that we do have a $15,000 escrow to start with, and we work from there. Each of the other entities just simply gave me what I had asked for as far as a little bit of their qualifications and then a fee schedule to do the work, availability for meetings. So each of the others gave their fee schedules, and they all have a range of fees from $150 an hour up to $240 an hour, depending on the staff that would work on it. And it really comes down to, who you think you might want to work with out of the four. Again, Barton does have a local office that I made a mistake and forgot they had a satellite office here. I did not make a recommendation. I thought we would discuss it and go from there. I have worked with Wendell at the town. Wendell's worked for us on projects even through this year. Napurella I've dealt with on both sides of projects and have not had problems with. Tectonic I have not worked with in the past, but they've worked on some solar project review in other towns locally. They all could cover this for you. I might consider Tectonic or Wendell in the upper two, and it's up to you guys if you want to kick Barton or Judas out because of the local office.
We don't want Latham, that's Tectonic. It's next to Cipriani.
We don't want eight.
Not the one in Latham. Right down the road from Cipriani. That's the fourth choice.
Mike, do you have any input on this?
Worked with him on multiple projects. He's an engineer and being out of town, that was the, Obviously, there's a problem with Wendell engineers. Has someone worked with them and had a problem? I found Wendell engineers to be a very easy to work with, intelligent group of people that have great meetings and the rest, doing multiple jobs. Other than that, I can't. They have all the criteria you're looking for, and he's not from Binghamton, as they asked for. So based on that, I think Wendell, he took the time to put a proposal together. I'm in favor. Problem, it's not where Wendell's from. It's they have multiple offices, no different than Keystone or multiple of the bigger firms. Hunt Engineers is in Elmira. Hunt Engineers is Shoemaker in Binghamton. Hunt Engineers is somebody else in Ithaca. Wendell is a bigger engineering firm, and this is all they do. Now, whether he lives out of town and the people that are on the list and who's going to come, he would probably pick the person that's closest to the area to show up, not send somebody from Watertown just to make them that much farther away. That's all.
I'll make a motion that we pick Wendell.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Diane, can I have a vote?
Mr. Carnegie? Mrs. Masternardi? Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donnelly?
Okay, so that decides that we're going with the Wendell Engineering Company for the third-party engineering review. Next on the agenda is the Raymond special permit. Special permit for 6 chickens in a zone plan development commercial property. Mr. Erda?
Okay, this application is for 4 Prescott Road. It's Braverman is the applicant for a special permit to construct a 6 foot 4 inch by 3 foot 10 inch chicken coop to house not more than 6 chickens. They're going to be hens in a PDDC commercial zone. They give a planning board application with permissions, a letter of intent, a site sketch, and a short environmental assessment form. Parcel is a non-conforming parcel with a non-conforming use within the PDDC. The site sketch does not indicate the setbacks provided. The backyard is roughly 50 by 50, which lends itself to provide for setbacks per code. If approved, the applicant shall include a sketch proving this as part of their building permit application. Architectural drawings were not provided. There's no agricultural district within 500 feet. Nothing is required there. Seeker, I defer to legal counsel for review. I noted that Part 1, number 12B should be yes for RTO-sensitive area. Part 116 should be filled out no. Number 6, should the boards approve, the building department requires a building permit. The project is subject to 239 review within 500 feet of state and county route or county road. It's I-81. Comments were received August 11th with general concerns relative to nothing placed in the New York State right-of-way and a caution adjacent to the floodplain. The project is within our 73-56 Zone 2 aquifer recharge area and 73-56 Zone 1 watershed area and is in compliance and shall continue to be. I didn't have any engineering objections to the application as long as the accessory structure setbacks are met.
Thank you. Are the applicants here? Yeah, I heard a yes. Right there. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to the application or discuss at this time? You could step over at the microphone and well, you have to speak into the microphone so it gets recorded.
Yeah, no comment at this time.
Okay, does anyone on the board have some questions for comments they want to make?
No. As usual, we're going to put on stipulations and no roosters, right? And we will also have to have a public hearing for this, correct?
In the application, I clearly stated it was going to be hens only.
Okay, so
I believe
Okay.
there is a
Yes, all
rogue
right. So we
rooster in
need
the
to-
neighborhood already. There is a rooster in the neighborhood. rogue rooster in the neighborhood. Can't make this up.
Okay, but it's not your rooster.
That's affirmative, not my rooster.
Okay. All right, so what I'd like to do at this point is open the public hearing for this agenda item. The way the public hearing works is everyone that wants to speak can speak. We have a 5-minute limit. What you do is you come up to the microphone here at the podium, you announce your name, your address, and then you proceed with what comments you wish to make. And so the public hearing is now open. For the chicken item, yes. Is there anyone that would like to speak? All about the chicken. Okay, no, I don't see anybody. So can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And we have a motion. A second.
Mrs. Mastronardi?
Aye.
Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donley?
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. And we proceed with the part 2 of the short environmental assessment form.
So the board has the Part 1 form prepared by the applicant. As noted by Alex, there was a question in Part 1 that he believes should have been answered yes. I don't see that as a significant issue for purposes of review if the applicant agrees that is the correct response. Sir, Alex, will you just flip that question you thought of?
Okay. Question 12B has to do with property being in an archaeological sensitive area. You are in an archaeological sensitive area per the state, but you're not impacting it. And then question 16 has to do with the floodplain. Is the project located in a 100-year floodplain? It was not answered. It should be answered no. It's adjacent to it.
Sir, do you have any issues with those answers being updated on the form? Thank you. So then, does the board have any questions for him regarding Part 1, any of the information contained therein? Seeing a bunch of shaking no's. Okay. Thank you. So we can move on to Part 2. Part 2 is the short form. It's those 11 questions. We'll run through them. If the board believes that any of these have a potential moderate to large impact, let's talk about it. If you all believe that it's no or small, please, I guess, try to indicate as loudly as you can for me. So the first question is, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? Do you all believe this is a no or small impact or a moderate to large impact? Question 2 is, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No or small or moderate to large? We're talking about a chicken permit. Question 3 is, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Question 4, will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? I'll note there is no critical environmental area in the town, so that should be a no.
No.
Question 5, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways? Question 6, will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? 7, will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities? Question 8, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
9, will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, e.g. wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
And finally, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
And so with the board indicating no or small impact, it would be appropriate to move on to part 3, which is the decision regarding the environmental significance of this action. Given the board's answers, it would be appropriate for a motion to make a negative declaration concerning this project.
Mr. Carnegie,
Aye.
Mrs. Mastronardi, Mr. Zenner, Mr. Eldridge, Mr. Donnelly.
And then, Mr. Chairman, it would be appropriate for the board in reviewing the site plan requirements and special use permit requirements to take action at this time.
Okay, does anyone have any further discussion on this special permit application?
No.
So now we would entertain a motion to approve with, is there a condition?
No roosters. Yes, and we should probably limit the number of chickens. He's looking for 6. Not more than 6, and no roosters, please.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval with the 2 conditions, not more than 6 chickens and no roosters. Do I have a second? Diane, can we have a vote?
Mr. Carnegie, Mrs. Mastronardi,
Aye.
Mr. Zenner, Mr. Eldridge, Mr. Donnelly.
Okay, so the special permit has been approved. I believe the special permit pertains only to you when you own the property. If you sell the property or something like that, it doesn't stay with the property, it goes away. Or if there's any violation of anything, then it can be also revoked. Okay, next on the agenda, Wood, special permit for application for wildlife, small animal and bird rehab property.
Did I get this?
On the property.
Is this Carnegie? Voice activation. Okay, this is for 18 Hoffman Drive. It's a special permit for Danielle Wood. It's a site plan review of the applicant's request for a special permit for a wildlife rehabilitation center on the property in a residential area. Animals do not stay for longer than 5 days within temporary care only. The applicant gave us a planning board application with permissions, letter of intent, additional info on accessory buildings, including local law 02-2021, parcel map or site sketch with dimensions, photos of the rehabilitation shed, wildlife rehabilitation information articles, Animal Behavior Institute letter, a Creature Comforts letter, a code enforcement letter, a Cornell University letter, the neighbors' letters of approval, a service review article, and a short EAF. Legal counsel, I just asked for a discussion on existing accessories required relative to the applicant's letter. Legal counsel also, what permitted use does this fall under if it is within an accessory building? The driveway does appear wide enough for 2 vehicles. If approved, the applicant will have to ensure that one stall remains open for use by patrons. No architectural drawings were provided. There is no agricultural district within 500 feet, so nothing is required there. Seeker will go through Nate, but again, I have comments. Part 1 description should reference what the application is for. It's a special use permit for use of an accessory building for the business. Part 1, number 1 should be no. Part 5A should perhaps be no as use in an accessory structure as opposed to home occupation in residence. That's a legal question. Should the boards approve, the building department requires a building permit for the structure. Project is not subject to 239 review. The project is within a section 73-56 zone 2 aquifer recharge area and zone 1 watershed area, and it's in compliance and shall continue to be. I don't have any engineering objections as long as legal counsel clears up the business as an accessory use.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Would you like to speak up, step up to the microphone?
Hi, thank you. Oops. So you have my application, and I know that it's on the website, so anyone who's here that was interested in the application had access to it. I just wanted to do a quick summary of what it is, because it's such a different thing not everyone understands, if that's okay. I'm a retired Shenango Fork school teacher, and I now work with the local schools and community doing environmental and conservation education. I volunteer for the Department of Environmental Conservation as a wildlife rehabilitator. I volunteer in my community with wildlife rescues and concerns. The things that qualify me to do this, I have a college-level certification that enables me to use the title Wildlife Rehabilitation Professional. I have 130 hours of hands-on internship at a large facility, Possumwood Acres in North Carolina. I have a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation permit to rehabilitate amphibians, reptiles, and small mammals. I have a United States Fish and Wildlife Department license to rehabilitate migratory birds, songbirds, and passerines. I have a United States Fish and Wildlife Department education permit to conduct conservational education within this. I'm required to take classes and attend seminars yearly by the National Wildlife Rehabilitation Association. And what this means, what I do, basically all I do all day and night, I answer phone calls and I make visits to community members. I assist them with wildlife concerns, I give advice, and sometimes physically assist them to keep people, pets, and wildlife all safe. As everybody cohabitates in these communities, we have to keep everyone separate, and the number one thing is safety. I assist local law enforcement with people and wildlife conflicts. I transport injured, sick, or orphaned wildlife to a local veterinarian that works with me and the Mary Swanson Wildlife Hospital at Cornell University. I network with species-specific rehabbers and wildlife sanctuaries. So I give, when people call, I have places for them to call for the specialist to come and help them in that field or transport them there. I also work with law enforcement, the DEC, and the private residents to kind of set up this web of support. I release wildlife back to either where it was found or on suitable privately owned property that the owners have very graciously shared with me. I administer triage and orphan care at my facility, which is where the permit comes in. I adhere to very strict guidelines by the DEC and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Department. I also go into schools and I go to community centers to teach classes to adults and kids. I specialize currently in songbirds. What I don't do on my property, I do not keep wildlife on my property. I do not release wildlife on my property. I do not work with large mammals, and I do not work with rabies vector species. Also important facts that I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention There are absolutely no documented cases in the entire United States of a human contracting the rabies virus from a rabbit, a squirrel, a groundhog, a chipmunk, or even a deer, which, with the exception of the deer who I work with. Reptiles, possums, and birds cannot contract the rabies virus, which also I work with. It's just not physically able to live in these animals. They can't contract it. This permit would enable me to continue to donate my resources, my time, my finances, and my training to help the community members with their wildlife conflicts. I also, if it's okay, I have a letter from Lieutenant Rigoli from the DEC. He wanted to come to the meeting tonight, but he couldn't, so he gave me this letter to read to you, if that's okay. And I have copies for you too, if you want to read it yourselves. He says, "Dear members of the Planning Board, I'm writing to express my strong support for Danielle Wood, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, license number 3484, a New York State licensed wildlife rehabilitator who resides in the town of Shenango. It has come to my attention that concerns have been raised regarding her work with wildlife and whether it complies with town code. As a licensed rehabilitator, Danielle is authorized and regulated by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to care for injured, orphaned, and displaced wild animals with the goal of returning them to their natural habitat. This license requires strict training, facility standards, and reporting obligations, ensuring that her work meets state oversight and public safety requirements. Importantly, the town of Shenango's municipal code does not prohibit or regulate the temporary care of wildlife under a valid New York State Department of Environmental Conservation license. While the code may address domestic animals or other regulated species, it does not speak to the unique role of a state licensed rehabilitator. Applying unregulated code provisions to her situation would be inconsistent with state law, and it could deprive her community of an essential service. In addition, licensed rehabilitators are prohibited from accepting payment for the care of wildlife. It is not a business of any sort. They operate on their own financially, and they may occasionally receive a donation from the public. Wildlife rehabilitation provides clear benefits to both the public and the environment. By taking in sick or injured wild animals, rehabilitators reduce potential public health risk, prevent unnecessary suffering, and protect residents from unsafe interactions. Successful rehabilitation and release also support the local ecosystems and conservation goals. Danielle has consistently demonstrated professionalism, compassion, and compliance with state standards, including training. Danielle has not only received the minimum training required for a license, but has gone above and beyond and sought out more advanced wildlife care courses. Preventing her from continuing this work would not only cause harm to local wildlife, but would also leave her community members with one less safe, legal avenue for assistance when they encounter an injured or orphaned animal. I respectfully urge the town of Shenango to recognize the important state licensed work being done by Danielle Wood and to confirm that her activities do not violate town code. Supporting licensed rehabilitators ultimately benefits the entire community. Thank you for your time and consideration. Very respectfully, Anthony Rigoli, Lieutenant, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Police, Region 7, Zone 4, Broome, Tioga, Tompkins counties.
Thank you. I have one question. Just wanted to clarify the building that you're actually doing the rehab and what work in is that's a separate building from your house? It's a accessory building?
Yes, what it is, people, usually I go to the site and I work with the animals. I either take them right to the vet or to a wildlife species specific place. Occasionally people bring them to me and I meet them in the driveway, or I greet them in my garage where they fill out, I have a lot of paperwork for the DEC, and they fill out paperwork there. I use the accessory shed to store my supplies, to store my materials, and to house, it has double caging. The animals, by DEC standards, they're not allowed to be treated in the same building attached to where people would reside. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry. Is that okay?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any other questions at this time? Okay, what I'd like to do is open the public hearing. Same rules as we just discussed. And is there anyone that would like to make some comments or have some concerns? Sir, if you could speak up, step up to the microphone.
My name is Scott Patrick. I live at 22 Hoffman Drive. I'll be in that residence 30 years come January. I applaud Danielle for what she's doing and what she wants to do. However, I have a concern as a close neighbor. I understand she's not dealing with predators or with rabies vector species. However, the animals she is dealing with, sick and injured small animals, are prime prey for predators that are rabies vector species. Foxes, raccoons, fisher cats, etc. This is where our concern comes in, is having these sick or injured animals will draw these rabies vector species into the neighborhood, even more so than they already are. We're concerned about our children, our pets, our own properties in immediate vicinity of her residence. Again, I applaud her for what she wants to do. I applaud her for her training. However, I don't feel a residential neighborhood such as that, with houses in such close proximity, is the appropriate location for something like this. Do you have any questions for me? Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who raise your hand?
I'm Heather Lake. I live on 5 Asbury Ave. I've lived there for over 22 years. Danielle Wood helped me with a bluebird that flew into the neighbor's, I think, shed and broke its neck. I gave it to her. She looked at it, couldn't care for it, and drove it on her dime and her time to Cornell. I was very thankful because in the past I've found wild animals and I've had to bring them to Cornell myself or to Owego. Now, being said, with the other animals in the neighborhood, I have a dog. I keep her on a leash. We have a fenced-in yard. I have seen bear. I have seen fox. And yes, we have fisher cats. But I don't know that they'd be able to get into a double cage and then through a shed. So that, to me, doesn't make any sense. I just feel like that's irrelevant. Danielle had to go through a lot of hoops and tests and I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. She had to do a lot to get a federal DEC license. It's not handed to you. I can't get it. I can't care for the bluebird that flew into the neighbor's house legally. I wouldn't even be able to keep it and try to care for it. So I think, that being said, with the DEC who came and looked at her house and okayed her animal sanctuary where she takes care of the animals and says it's safe, I would have to go on the DEC and believe that they know what they're talking about. I don't think they put my animal in danger. And I love my animal.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Judy Rapp. I actually live in the town of Triangle, but I work here at Shenango Forks. I'm here to speak on behalf of All Creatures Great and Small Animal Rehab that I had to personally call. On August 18th, I was traveling north on Route 12. We came across a fawn that was hit, was flopping in the middle of the road. We stopped, we pulled it out, got it onto the grass, and when it stood up, we realized it had a chance to live. I called Danny, she showed up immediately, assessed the fawn, and made the situation safe for both the fawn and the public. Danny got the fawn to a local deer rehab center where it is now thriving. This is what she does. She is more than a rehabber. She is a resource. I would call her an animal EMT. As a teacher, she educates others on animal welfare. She's taken all the mandatory classes, is fully licensed with the New York State DEC, who can stop and inspect her center at any time unannounced, like she has said. The service she provides is at no cost to the town or to anyone who calls her. As a former town councilwoman, I understand the benefit of a no-cost service that protects the town and its residents. This service is available to anyone, any time of the day, any hour, at no charge. She cannot charge, she does not charge. I believe it would be benefit for the town of Shenango and all surrounding areas to allow all creatures, great and small, the ability to continue to operate a valuable service. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, ma'am?
My name is Wendy Toman. I live at 24 Hoffman Drive, and I'm reluctant to say this, but because of all these nice things people are saying, I love animals. I have a high deck where I sit out on my porch all summer long, and what I see and what I hear is not good. I've heard her dogs being left out in the winter, crying, freezing, trying to get in. Nobody lets them in. I have seen her have pheasants that have been in the neighbors' yards. I have seen her raise little fluffy bunnies, not wild bunnies, fluffy little pet bunnies, with nobody watching them. They're in other people's yards, hopping around, being prey for anything. I have not seen the empathy for animals that I think she should have. She lets her cats out all night long. I feed songbirds, and I find birds in my yard every week, dead birds. The cats have gotten, because I've seen her cats by my shed late at night, waiting, praying. I've picked up dead chipmunks, I picked up dead birds, and dead rabbits that were obviously killed by cats, because most predators take these animals and eat them. But the cats don't. They just kill them. And she must find them at her doorstep. I'm sure her cats bring gifts home, because I've had cats all my life. And they bring you gifts. And that's my feeling. I don't think she has a compassion. I don't think it should be there. I guess that's all I have to say. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, thank you very much. Sir?
My name is Richard Lagenhausen. I live at 6 Faison Court. I did write a letter on her behalf, but I figure since we're doing public comment, I'd just read it. I'm writing this letter in support of Danielle Wood, so she may be granted a permit to conduct her work as a wildlife rehabilitator. I've known her on a professional level, and she at all times, day and night, takes in injured animals that others would turn a blind eye to and let die. I work in local law enforcement, serve this community. I know her on a professional level because we get dispatched to injured animals within the town of Shenango and surrounding areas. She's the only wildlife rehabilitator within the immediate area that's able to come and respond to assist. This keeps us from having to euthanize, which for people that don't know what that means, we have to pull our gun out and shoot and kill these animals on site. It makes it so we don't have to do that. I find it disappointing there are people in the community that feel the need to complain about the services provided by Danielle, as she is doing God's work by saving animals that can't help themselves. As humans, we have hospitals and ambulances at our beck and call, but wildlife doesn't have a veterinarian hospital because most vets don't work with wildlife. To try and take that away goes to show you how individuals are at their core. Danielle is one of the most caring people I know, and it is a blessing to have her services available. I know she is regularly inspected by the State Department of Environmental Conservation, as you heard earlier. And I know she maintains strict compliance, and as a result, there should be no concerns for negative impact in the town. I believe it should be a simple decision to grant Danielle all applicable permits she needs to continue doing the work she does and has been doing. I look forward to continuing to have her services available to the public and the wildlife in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else? Anyone else like to speak? Why not?
Hi, my name is Diane Jensen, and I live at 17 Hoffman Drive, across the street from the proposed site. You all received, because I sent them to you, each individual person on the board, a document having to do with a variety of information. Quite frankly, first of all, I think it's an honorable, what she's doing is an honorable thing, okay? But quite frankly, it's a moot point, because the question is it in an area that is an acceptance in a residential area for you to be able to have an wildlife animal refuge and wildlife rehabilitation. Okay, excuse me. Okay. No, the question is should it be in a residential area? We all chose the place that we wanted to live based on the area that we chose, which is residential. This is not meant for wildlife rehabilitation. It's not meant for, well, first of all, let me just mention some of the things that it says. That the document stated that I do not work with or handle any rabies vector species. I understand that that Danielle took the rabies vaccine because she came into contact with a deer that was questionable, and she had to go through the regimen for rabies. Now, I don't know whether you determine whether or not this is fact or not, but maybe it's appropriate to ask at this point if in fact she did. Because it's online that that's what happened. And it was online, and it was from her website. I say a posting that she made. So is it appropriate to ask if that did in fact happen? I mean, is it important for you folks to know whether or not we're being safeguarded in our neighborhood, to know that somebody did not have to go through something like that happened across the street from me? Is it important for you to know what the residents might be putting up with? Can I have an answer from somebody? Or no? Okay, then what is it appropriate to ask whether she undertook that? Oh, okay. Well, okay. Which? Oh. But it was posted. It was posted. Pardon me? Okay, well then it was posted online.
Okay,
It was
this isn't an
posted
answer-
online.
This isn't a question-answer period. This is just a
Okay,
statement
well,
period.
but I don't know how do you offer information if the information is not being provided? Sometimes when people when people provide information, it's not what they offer you, which is wonderful information, what she's gone through and everything else. It's what is not being offered. So I'm just questioning whether or not it's, whether it's important for people to know some of the things that are not being said. Also, the original request was shared with neighbors and within a 500-foot radius, but the people that reside next door, I did not receive a copy of it. There's people around her home that never received that information, which goes to question that there must have been an awareness of things that were not acceptable, that we were not all notified in the same manner. Also, she says this has been ongoing. So this has been going on for a period of time. If the permit is being requested, how can this be going on at the same site, at 18 Hoffman? So it's been ongoing. So again, a question that I guess you can't ask, but it should be a question that should be considered, because this is happening and has been happening over a period of time. She says that she doesn't work with rabies vector species, but she does. When I offered the information to you, I don't know whether you have the document with you or not. It was written to each one of you, and it was emailed to you. And I have a document, there's a graphic with her holding, well, it certainly isn't a songbird, with
Okay,
leather.
well, thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Hi, my name is Barbara Seifer. I live at 18 Johnson Road. I do not know Danielle, but I called her once about a baby possum, and she was nothing but kind and knowledgeable, and she's put a lot of her own funds into doing this, and we should be pretty darn thankful, town of Shenango, to have a wildlife rehabilitator who actually answers the phone and wants to help. The second point that I want to make is I am here to oppose the solar, and in keeping with that, think when they cut down 40 acres of forest, how many animals will be displaced? And we should be very thankful that Danielle will be here to take care of them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Larry Zimmerman. I reside at 16 Huffman Drive, next door to Danielle. I gave each one of you a copy. It was sent in the email, but apparently you guys couldn't read it, so I'll just read the thing. Thank you again for the opportunity to submit the written statement regarding the following application for Danielle Woods, residing at 18 Hoffman Drive, Binghamton, New York. It's a request for a special permit to keep more than two animals, small mammals and birds, for wildlife rehabilitation for no longer than 5 days. It says, as a resident in the town of Shenango, I cannot support the application due to the public health and safety concerns, as well as potential negative impact on property value that it represents. My wife and I together have lived there on 16 Hoffman Drive for approximately 19 years. Our home is regularly visited by our 3 children, their families, young children, and pets, and additional longtime friends of various ages, and some of whom have immune-compromised systems. We acknowledge and commend the work for wildlife rehabilitators licensed by the New York State DEC. However, we noted that the New York DEC Wildlife Rehabilitator Program materials, as displayed on their website, clearly state that not all rehabilitators may be able to accept every injured or orphaned animal. And it gives you a source where that came from. It says, we interpret this to mean that wildlife rehabilitators may be licensed by New York State DEC, but may not be allowed to keep an injured or orphaned animal in their residence address. To our understanding, the town of Shenango is not zoned for the proposal activity, which it presently is already doing. And it has not been presented a plan to address public health issues such as animal waste removal, proof of insurance for additional liability, and odor mitigation procedures. So, in saying that, as a resident of the town of Brookhaven, I oppose the application due to the concerns regarding public health, safety, potential negative impact on property values that this application presents. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else? Yeah, I don't see anyone else.
Motion to close the public hearing. Second.
Closing the public hearing.
Mrs. Carnegie? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Carnegie? Mrs. Mastronardi? Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donley?
Aye. Okay, so the public hearing is closed. We'll move ahead with the short environmental assessment form.
Is Zoom working? Before we get to the environmental assessment review, one of the things I think would be helpful in reviewing the application materials, I don't see a letter from the code officer identifying which requirement under the code this is necessitates the special use permit. And I bring that up because it matters whether this is considered a home occupation or if this is considered a permit for increasing the amount of animals. And in either of those cases, it's not clear to me that this would be actually an allowed use under the code. But that's a conversation or decision for the code enforcement officer. And there typically should be some indication of the code enforcement officer's application of the code to the project. So I think it would be appropriate to ask the code enforcement officer for a formal interpretation as to whether this is an allowed use, and if so, which section of code it is falling under.
Does anyone have anything they want to discuss in that regard?
Do you understand what he said, or no? Okay. I'll make a motion that we request a determination from the code officer on whether this is an allowable use or would fall into allowable use in a residential zone.
I'll second. Diane, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Carnegie? Mrs. Mastronardi? Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donnelly?
Okay, so in this case, what we'll need to do is hold this off until we get an interpretation from the code officer. Moving on. Okay, Davis, special permit for a home occupation dog grooming business in residence. Mr. Erda.
Okay, this is a site plan review of the applicant's request for a special permit for a home occupation. It's a dog grooming company located in a household in a residential zone at 52 Pamela Drive. The application package included a planning board application with permissions, a letter of intent, a short environmental assessment form, a building layout, pictures of dogs, and a neighbor's letter. Signage shall be per code and should be submitted to the code officer for review of compliance for area and size prior to installation. I asked where parking is provided. The driveway appears to have room for one vehicle. Will your vehicle be in the garage and the driveway available for patrons? Architectural drawings, there were sketches provided. 239 review is required within 500 feet of a state road. Comments were received August 26, 2025. The applicant shall address the septic system questions from the Broome County Health Department to assure that the existing system is designed to accommodate the entire sewer design flow for the house plus business. There are no New York State agricultural districts within 500 feet. Nothing's required there. Seeker, I defer to legal counsel. I had one note that part 1, number 12B should be yes, that it is in an RTO-sensitive area, but the project isn't changing anything outside. Should the board approve, the building department would require a building permit. I have no engineering objections as long as the one parking stall area is available and the Broome County Health sewer question is resolved.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Would you like to come up?
Hello. So I have been grooming for over 10 years, and honestly, I'm just wanting to continue doing what I love in my home. I don't plan on doing a lot. I just want to continue grooming because I love doing it. I do home care in the afternoon for my father, so I would only be operating between the hours of like 8 to noon, doing like 1 or 2 dogs a day just to continue doing something that I love. I have a toddler, so unfortunately I can't really work while my husband goes to school somewhere else besides my home. I have it set up where my toddler has a separate area and I can still keep an eye on him while I groom. I have many people who are excited for me. My neighbors ask me every day if my permit's approved yet. It's obviously not because I'm here for the permit. But if you guys have any questions regarding anything, I'm more than happy to answer. I don't know if you guys received the email. I did get an email from Matt, the groundwater management person, and I discussed water usage with him. I got a dye test, making sure that I would not go over the amount of water used. I did test of how much water I'd be using per dog to make sure I would not go over my household limit, and everything was in the clear, and he said that he was fine with it as long as there were no issues down the line, which I understand if there ever were issues when it came to water seeping into like other neighboring yards, then that would have to be readdressed. Do you guys have any questions for me about anything?
Well, there was 2 questions here that Mr. Erda brought up, and one is the question about your septic system.
Yes.
I'm not sure what volume you're going to be doing the Broome County. Oh, okay. I just was told that the Broome County issued an approval of it.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, sorry. I did testing
All
with my
right,
own
so
dogs
we
for
don't
how much
have that
water.
question, and I'm sorry.
That's all right. I only plan on doing like 1 or 2 dogs per day, just because it takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do a dog. If it's a larger dog, it's going to take me more time, so less dogs. I would only be doing 1 dog at a time. I don't plan on having chaos at my house. Less stress with only 1 dog. They wouldn't be, I would take them like from the owner at my garage, go into my grooming room, which I have already remodeled. I'm very excited about it, obviously, in anticipation of this. And then the dog would go home with the owner. There wouldn't be a lot of traffic or anything. Owner would drop off their dog, leave, come back, pick up their dog, leave.
Anyone else have any other questions? No? Okay, so what I'd like to do is open the public hearing. So we have same rules as anyone wants to speak, come up to this microphone. And so the public hearing is now open. Does anyone want to make any comments on this proposal? Okay, so we have a motion to close the public hearing in a second. Diane, can we have a vote?
Mr. Carnegie? Mrs. Masternardi? Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donnelly?
Okay, the public hearing is closed. So we'll continue with the short environmental assessment form.
The board has a copy of the Part 1 of the EAF. Did anyone have any questions concerning the information provided in that? Thank you. So then we'll move on to Part 2 and those 11 questions. First, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area, of which there are none in the town? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy, conservation, or renewable energy opportunities? Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, e.g. wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. And finally, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. So with the board answering no to each of the questions, it's appropriate to move on to Part 3. Given the answer of no to each of those questions, a motion to make a negative declaration concerning this action would be appropriate.
Mr. Carnegie? Mrs. Masternardi? Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donnelly?
Okay, is there other questions, discussion? Is there any conditions on this? Someone want to make a motion?
So it is in the paperwork that Matt had sent. I went over all the water usage numbers with him. Every household is, a household of 3 bedrooms is allowed 330 gallons of water per day. My household usage is between 89 gallons and at the max, which was only like 1 month, 165 gallons, which leaves me a lot of water left over. I did the math with my own dogs. With you using 5 gallons of water a minute, I tested out with each one of my dogs to see how long it takes me to bathe them. My large dog, which is 80 pounds, which I don't plan on doing dogs that are 80 pounds or over that, sorry for anyone with large dogs, takes me 2.5 minutes of water usage, which is less than 20 gallons of water. My small dog is 14 pounds. He has hair, so he takes a little bit longer to wash, but in the same sense, he takes me less than 2 minutes to wash. That is 10 gallons of water. If I did do 4 dogs a day, which I'm not saying will happen, but maybe down the line I would like to if I had more time. I can't tell what's going to happen with my father in home care. I can't judge that. So obviously I would still need an income if I didn't have that. 4 dogs a day, let's do a high estimate of saying 20 gallons of water per dog, which is a high end. 20, 40, 60, 80 gallons, which still puts me under 330 gallons a day. And with the water, the groundwater management lead, sorry, I don't know his actual title, Matt, I believe was his name, he said that he is perfectly fine with it as long as I stay under that limit and I never have any leakage issues into the yard. If I ever did, then it would be reevaluated. My permit would be, obviously, have to not be until I got my septic fixed if there were issues. For now, I don't see, if I ever wanted to do 4 dogs a day, as long as I'm under that water usage, I don't see why there would be an issue with that. I just don't want to have to get approved on a limit of only 2 dogs just in case, like, I have an income issue come down the line, if that makes sense. Do you have any questions for me about that?
No, I think the stipulation was going to be no more than 2 dogs at a time.
At a time. Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. It's hard to hear back there. There's a little chatter. Yeah, no, I would definitely not have more than 2 dogs in there. It is a very small room, so I don't plan on having cages or anything like that. Sorry, I got a little defensive. All right. Any other questions before I sit back down, I guess? Okay, sorry about that.
I'll make a motion, or I'll make a recommendation that there's not more than 2 dogs at a time, and then a motion to approve. Second.
Mr. Carnegie? Mrs. Mastronardi? Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donnelly?
So it is approved. I don't know if you're doing some building, but you need to get a building permit if you are doing some, according to what Mr. Erda said. You need to check with the building department. Okay. So we do have in old business, the Yellow 20 LLC, Party Solar. Don't believe there's any other necessary business for that. However, if we want to open the public hearing again to resume that, we can do that right now.
Howdy, my name's Pat O'Brien. Oh, thank you. Hey, I appreciate your guys' efforts. Your job's gotta stink. My name's Pat O'Brien. I live at 47 North Morningside Drive. And I've got substantial concerns about building a solar farm that near, well, it's actually, that solar farm is gonna be part of my neighborhood. Because as far as I can tell, there is no other road to access that property other than through the neighborhood. So what this is saying is, this company wants to put a commercial enterprise inside a residential neighborhood. And I find that appalling. Now, there seems to be a lot of talk about the risk of flooding. So I went and I looked in, what's the little park? Hyder Park, and I went and looked at the drain pipe. And then I went over to Wallace Road, where there has been flooding, and compared the size of the two drain pipes. You know, there's a drain pipe underneath the driveway for two houses on Wallace Road, and that was inadequate both in 2006 and 2011. And a lot of properties got damaged on Wallace Road because that was not big enough. Then I remember coming to some kind of meeting after that happened and asked, and the town said, well, there's really nothing we can do because the property owners won't cooperate. So I feel like we're getting set up for that same story again. Okay? Now, I would be supportive of this if the company would be willing to cover my cost for flood insurance and everyone else in the neighborhood. And that would be an effective way to measure the risk of allowing this to happen. If they say, no, 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 we won't do it, then I know they're concerned, and we all know, I've looked it up, okay? If somebody changes stuff on their property and it water damages my property, the New York state laws will not protect you. There's way too many outs that somehow it was an act of God. It was not that they changed the topography of the land. So that becomes a real issue that once this happens, we're trapped with no recourse if, in fact, their flood plan, whatever, fails, right? We're just on the hook, the people that live in the neighborhood. Now, I've also got one final personal concern. I told you, I live 47 North Morningside, which is right near where this is going to happen. Okay, those of you that know the neighborhood. I have a 21-year-old son who has autism, and the drama, well, it'll traumatize him to have trucks going up and down the road. Those of you that have been around, that live in the neighborhood, know that my son walks regularly with noise-canceling headphones on just because that unexpected activity freaks him out. So you have hundreds of trucks going by the house, it will traumatize him. It's going to screw him up. And I got to tell you, he doesn't let go of things easily. I paddled his butt with my hand when he was like 3 years old. To the age 9, he remembered that and was angry about it. Okay, so you can't just say, well, you know, he'll get over it. You're diminishing the quality of life. If you allow this to happen, you're diminishing the quality of life for my son in a significant way. It is not a trivial thing. And I think that needs to be considered. You know, what's more valuable? A young man's life or somebody from out of town making more money? You know, that's... I'm sure I forgot a number of things because I'm scared as hell talking up here. And I really do appreciate your efforts because your job sucks. Okay? Thank you for the time, and if you have questions...
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janice Klein. I live at 20 Jameson. I'm probably going to be the unpopular speaker. I am in favor of the solar farm, and I appreciate your comments, sir, and I understand everybody here has their concerns. I want to say that for the storm water, is the company looking into providing shrubbery, and because vegetation can prevent flooding. Is that something they look into? No? Okay. All right. Well, why don't they do that? Okay. Well, I am in favor of it. Why? Well, because it's good for our community. I lease.
Folks, please allow her to finish speaking. This is her time for public comment.
I lease solar panels. I've leased solar panels for the past 11 years. It's been the best financial decision we've ever made. From January to May, my NICEAG bill came and it was $0. Now I'm back to paying my $145 budget bill. And then when net metering my net metering builds up, I'll be back to paying $0 again. But I lease for $59 a month for a 20-year lease, and they take out $1 million policy. So this company has to have some kind of massive insurance plan, correct? Well, no, and I understand
Folks,
that.
please let her finish.
I understand that. I'm asking, what is this company promising as far as insurance for the area? You have no answer for that? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm in favor of it.
Okay, thank you. Well, while the next speaker is speaking, can we just have whoever would like to get up next kind of like stand on deck so we can process this quickly?
Good evening. My name is Donna Hill. I am living in the Shenango Shores neighborhood section of Morningside Heights. My house is in Dickinson. My backyard part of it is in the town of Shenango. I have flooded on my property at least 3 times in the 23 years that I have lived there, from runoff down the hill, from Smith Hill Creek, tearing through the neighborhood, from the creek at Hyder Park, jumping the culvert due to excessive flow and flooding properties. None of that, I feel, has been adequately addressed by the town of Shenango, which has pled poverty and lack of grants in trying to deal with these things. Now, this proposal will send more water in the existing culverts and storm drains, and I say, as a resident of this neighborhood, no. This neighborhood has a high percentage of retirees and elderly, and frankly, we're getting a bit too old to deal with this flooding crap. And younger families with kids are just doing their best to hold on to their jobs and their homes, let alone deal with the flooding disasters this neighborhood has experienced over the past years, most recently in 2021. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Cipriani is based in Colony, New York, but it's a division of Sol Real Group, which is based in the nation of Panama. It has projects all over the world, and I doubt very much that Lorenzo Cipriani, the CEO in Panama, is losing any sleep tonight over our little neighborhood in Morningside Heights and Shenango Shores. And I know you guys are doing the best you can with your planning board. I also know your mission, as on the website says, that you are to deal with the health, the safety, and welfare of the people of Morningside Heights and Shenango Shores, and I feel this project will not improve any of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Russin. I live at 32 Johnson Road, been there 46 years. I want to go back here to 12/2/22, your meeting that you had. And I believe Mr. Eldridge was asking the question, I believe it was to Mr. Stiles, who was your code man at the time. I think you said to him, has there been any public concern about the project? Right? His answer was, not to my knowledge. Of course, this was in 2022 when everybody was thinking about, hey, 42 Smith Hill Road, it's over there, you know, nobody knew it went way the hell over there, okay? So now you know that by the crowd you can tell. Then, let's go back to 2/13/23. Mr. Donnelly was talking about view shed analysis, which is how you take pictures or look at a certain thing for aesthetic beauty of what it's going to do and all that, which is fine, except at that time, Mr. Stiles says, you can talk about that stuff all you want, the addresses and all you want, you can just keep talking about it, except the big problem there, water is the big problem over there, water. Right? So in Morningside Heights, it's water. It's been flooded a couple of times. At that time, it actually was more than that. And it's big, I mean, really big. You guys were there, so you know what he said. And as he was saying that, he says, the neighborhood has been flooded. That neighborhood has been flooded many times. That water jets off the hill, and this is coming from your code man. This is before this solar farm's coming in. We already had problems. And he says, it jets off the hill and has flooded the neighborhood. Those people may or may not come out in droves, being very unhappy about that project happening on the hill. Now that's from your own code man at the time. So you're all aware of what was really going on there. You know what's going on. I don't know how many of you have come up to the neighborhood, which I believe is in your bylaws. You have to come up in the neighborhood and see what's going on there. Then you'll get a real idea of what's really happening. So, as Donna just explained, you don't really have to look so surprised to see the group who's here tonight. Your board's been given the responsibility, like she said, to further orderly development of land uses in our town in order to protect the health, safety, welfare of the residents. This project does neither, and it would jeopardize our neighborhood on many, many different levels, period. If this project is allowed to go forward, it won't be a matter of if there's more flooding in our neighborhood, but when. And I think you all know that. I'm looking at your faces. I know you all know that, but that's what you have to deal with. And we don't deserve that. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ron Brink, and I live at 8 South Morningside Drive. And just like to talk a little bit about the drainage system and the project area. I think we all know that this is a really big site, 21 acres, clear-cut land, if it goes through. If you look at a map, you can see that it's very steep, 20% or more in most places, even more, up to 60%, according to the applicant. The drainage system they're proposing is going to be very complicated. It has to be with those conditions. Thousands of feet of drainage ditches and flow spreaders and check jams and retention ponds. All these things are going to be placed on steep slopes, dug into them. And this convoluted system is going to need constant inspections and maintenance. Steep terrain, fast-flowing stormwater is going to make that mandatory. And the cost for this work is going to be significant and ongoing for the entire life of the project and beyond, which could be decades. And the developer so far has shown us no plans, absolutely no plans for doing this. And it makes me wonder if they even intend to. Remember, this is supposed to be the crown jewel of the project, this drainage system. It's supposed to protect our neighborhood from flash flooding. There's no word in the maintenance manual how they plan to keep the system going over years and decades. And in spite of its complexity, well, the drainage system could still function for a while if there aren't any major accidents, if the engineering designs are all good, everything is installed correctly by the contractors, the maintenance is done as it should be, and the future storms are not too large or intense. And that's a lot of ifs. But when a failure does occur, the bad soils there and the steep land are going to magnify things tremendously. Culverts can get blocked or wash out, as I'm sure you know. Swales can be breached, check dams can fail, retention pond outlets can get clogged with debris. And as hundreds of thousands of gallons of stormwater rush down the hillside, a small problem could quickly grow into a larger one, and no one in the community would be the wiser until it was too late for us. All of this is bad enough, but no thought has apparently been given as to what happens when the developer goes bankrupt or sells out to another company, which happens all the time in the industry, or just stops operating at the site. The solar panels might be removed, but what about the elaborate drainage system they leave behind, the one that supposedly protects the community? Without constant inspection and maintenance and repair, the system will decay and fall apart. Nobody's going to be taking care of it. Who exactly will do all of this work and pay for it? The clear cut's still going to be there, and as the drainage system deteriorates over the years, the flooding risks become worse and worse for us. And the good news for all this is that none of it has to happen. Nobody here, I'm sure nobody wants to trash this entire neighborhood. You can team up with us and help us put an end to this very bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name's Susan Thomas. I live at 20 Johnson Road. I just have some questions. Well, I know you can't answer them, but I just want to bring up the gentlemen that own this property were receiving tax breaks for reforesting the property. So that program's still going on. Reforesting is still necessary in the area. So how is it environmentally responsible to clear cut the forest? There are a lot of places. I'm not against solar. I have looked at getting solar in my own house. But there are better places. I get this is close to a substation, much easier to run, but it can be places, but put places where, sorry, I'm nervous, it won't destroy trees, animal habitat, and not raise concern for flooding, as we all are concerned about. If you want to do this, again, I have no storm sewers on my street. I did not realize that until we started flooding. I was driving home in 2021, and water was just rushing down. I had to park in my neighbor's yard to get into or her driveway to be able to get into my house. Now, my house was dry, but the next morning, I woke up to all this groundwater in my basement. So this study that you guys are conducting, I know people are concerned with overland flooding, but is it also going to study the groundwater? Because that is where my house has had issues. I know it flooded in 2011. I bought it from a homeowner who I was friends with, or she passed away, but I was friends with his daughter, and she was telling me, she's like, oh, her parents had owned the house for almost 25 years, and she's like, it's never flooded except in 2011. And she's like, and they got a grant to fix the problem. I sat in on a meeting where, again, somebody else brought up somebody didn't want their yards dug up into, so that grant was lapsed. We had rain just last week, and I have a friend visiting from Arizona. He couldn't believe how much water was just pooled in my yard and down at the bottom of the hill. And anybody that drives down Upper Front Street, you can tell there's no place for that water to go. We just can't handle that. And since I've moved in the area, we've had climate change is a real thing. I mean, we've had an ice storm, we've had 42 inches of snow. I'm still dealing with the insurance company with a hailstorm. It's just been a mess. So the other concern I have too is, have you looked at other solar farms in the area? I know there's been concerns raised about the Bun Hill project, the Glen. Our soil just isn't really meant to handle what is going on. And retention ponds, as Ron said, they don't always hold. That whole system, that's going to require a lot to keep up. The other question, I have is the traffic, as the other gentleman said. I mean, there are a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and I'm on Johnson. That's the straightest shot up to get to Grandview. And even Grandview's super narrow. I had never really been up there. I drove up there this weekend. I just don't, logging trucks are huge. I do a lot of trail riding. I have horses, and they can't stop fast. They make a lot of noise. They're going to be really rough on the roads. All that dust. I mean, I moved to this neighborhood because I liked the charm. I drove around. I asked people how they liked living there, and it just was a nice, just kind of little 1950s residential neighborhood that just very quiet but close to things. I came from Appalachian, so I just, I just want you guys to consider that. I know you guys have a hard job, but we pay taxes. I think we've paid more taxes as a collective whole than the property owners currently do. They don't live in the area, so please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Charles Debnar. I live at 5 Heights Court. I'm going to add on to what Ron Brink talked about. I don't know what the detention ponds are being designed for, 20 years, 50 year, 100 year storm. Whatever it is, we could have a storm that could be much more severe than that. And when that happens, whatever the design is for that detention pond, it's going to overflow, and it's going to come right back down where we had what they were talking about, the storms in 11, 21. Where I live on Heights Court, the town had to come in with front-end loaders to clear the streets out because we had stone, gravel, limbs, all kinds of debris. And I don't want to live through that again. It's really ridiculous. The other thing I want to bring up is, if the town is so eager to put in a solar farm, why can't you look at someplace else, such as Prentice Road, between Catelville and Route 12? That area recently has been all cleared out, and there are no houses around like we are in our community that you want to traumatize. I just don't understand why You can't look at other places. That's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
My name is Nancy Ramsey, and I live at 911 Front Street. I moved there in 1963. I moved to Cortland in 1978. However, my parents built the home that I now live in at 911. I apologize. I moved to 909 Front Street in 1963. So when we came back from Cortland in 1996, my parents had passed away, and we moved into 911. We did go through 2 floods in 2006 due to water backing up from the river because a flap was taken off of a pipe that went then backed the water in to our area. However, that was taken care of by the town of Dickinson, and we had no more problem with that. In 2011 and in 2021, we had up to 46 inches of water. And I'm far away, a little farther away than most people from Smith Road, Hyder Park. We had up to 46 inches of water in our lower level. And in 2021, I watched a river of mud just flowing in behind my home and where 2 Boland Road is. I guess I just don't understand when you already have had so much agony and so much devastation from these floods. I have a sheet of 3 sheets, I think, of paper with single spacing of people who had water in their lower levels or their basements or wherever. So I don't understand why you would want to exacerbate that area by putting in a solar system. I don't disagree with green power at all, but considering putting that solar system in where we already have so much devastation from it, and we don't know that it's not going to continue to happen. In fact, it most likely will. There was a place in California recently that was on the TV where this river of mud is now flowing from where the taking out the trees and such. So I really am asking you to seriously consider. I don't want another 46 inches of basement of water in my lower level. So please consider very carefully what this town of Shenango and the town of Dickinson will suffer if we have another flood.
Thank you.
Good evening. Katie Edwards, 10 Heights Court. So first off, thank you for holding a special meeting in a venue that allows everyone to attend and speak their concerns. I have a few things I want to add on to the flood concerns and quality of life concerns that we will lose. First off, I want to speak to you about property values. Cipriani claimed that there would be no impact on nearby property values in their July presentation to the community. And while some studies may concur, it's important to realize that many of the studies are not objective. For example, mixing wide ranges of distances from solar farms versus houses in the immediate proximity, mixing in rural property, which tends to go up in value due to the potential for future leasing, not using actual sale prices, and then mixing in the values from where solar developers have actually bought the properties from owners. So inflating the prices of sales. So that's not fair to us. Study on the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences notes a property value at loss of about 4.8% for properties within 3 miles. Other studies indicate that this can be up as much as 15 to 17% for properties that are in very close proximity and with a view obstruction. The other piece I think what we would all like to understand is, what is the town getting from this? You know, what's the benefit of having the solar farm potentially installed behind our neighborhood? From my reading, from what I understand, is that solar farm installations in New York State automatically get a 15-year property and school tax exemption under Real Property Tax Law 487. So that means when they get installed, they're not benefiting our communities whatsoever. There is an opportunity to opt out. And smartly, the town of Shenango opted out of this in 2016, meaning that the town could recoup property and school taxes on the added value of a solar farm. But what I don't understand, and I want to be proven wrong, I want to know what happened here, and I can't find this information online. In 11/19/2019, the town of Shenango rescinded this opt-out, meaning that, again, solar farms would be 100% free from school and property taxes, unless there was a negotiated pilot agreement. Is there a pilot agreement with Cipriani? And with these negotiated pilot agreements, it is substantially less tax available for the community. For example, a pilot agreement in the town of Spencer yielded a property tax abatement in the amount of $494,000 for a solar farm. These are net losses for the communities that are not balanced by increases in jobs, because these are not brick and mortar facilities. These are going to be part-time, temporary employees that come and go. And once they're gone, who's going to be maintaining this facility? So I would like to know, did the town negotiate a pilot agreement with Cipriani? If so, what are the terms? Can the board clarify how much revenue, if any, our schools and community will gain under this agreement? If a pilot was not negotiated, how much revenue will our schools and community be missing out on? Clarifying these terms will help our community understand what is the motivation for this project. I also need to note that per Real Property Tax Law 487, the town needed to negotiate a pilot agreement within 60 days of receiving the notice of intent to develop. This is oftentimes the interconnect agreement. This agreement occurred in 2021. Was the pilot agreement negotiated within this time frame? If not, there's a prior precedent where a school district tried to enforce a pilot after the fact, and they legally were not able to. So I'd like to understand what our status is in terms of taxation. So I think I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Dean Warwick, and I live on Hickory Road. And right now, I don't have to have flood insurance. And what I want to know is, when they decide to do this and they flood out the whole area, are they going to pay for our flood insurance? Because I'm not worried about my electric bill. I'm more worried about having to pay for flood insurance when they're done with this. Now, I grew up in a family of tree surgeons. And I don't know if you know this or not, but if you drill a hole in the bottom of a huge tree, an oak tree 40 foot high, and inject a chemical in it, within 15 minutes, the bugs will start falling out of the top of that tree. That's how fast trees drink water. Now, all these trees on the hill have roots, and they're holding the ground, they're holding the rain and slowing it down so it's not rushing off that hill. But give it a quarter of a mile of no trees, and it's going to wash down that hill. And then I'm going to need flood insurance, and who's going to pay for it? So I think this is a deep subject, and it's something we need to get a little deeper into than just saying we're saving money. We're going to put in an electric farm, I'll call it, and get a lower electric bill. But actually, it's going to cost us a lot more money. And that's what I want to say.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kate Debnar. I live in Morningside Heights. We've lived there for probably almost 30 years. We back up into the park. The park is an integral part of this community. They spent lots of money and they got grants to build a beautiful new park. And there's several soccer fields every Sunday and during the year and during the week. There's soccer practices for all the children, and they can come and do that. With this flooding, they cannot have their sports thing anymore. These fields will be flooded. And also, it's the safety of our children. You have all these trucks coming through. What do you think is going to happen? You have kids now on motorcycles, on motor scooters, on their bikes, walking, having fun on the streets. They're in danger if you're going to have all these trucks coming through. And then you have the old ladies. They're out there with their walkers. They're able to go up and down the streets in their walkers because they're safe. But is that going to happen with your project? No. And then I have listened to every single one of you say, you agreed to whatever these other people wanted to do that met your criteria for your, whatever you are supposed to abide by. You said, yes, it did. No, yes, yes. Well, ours is not going to be that way. I don't see how you could honestly say that this project, you can sit there and say, oh, yes, it's going to meet my criteria for this, for this, for this, for your board's mission statement. I don't see how you could do that, because you're taking one neighborhood and decimating it with all this flooding just so somebody else can make money. And also, we also talked about other places. There has to be another place that would not impact a whole neighborhood. Our community's at risk. Would you like to live in that neighborhood? Do you want to live on those streets where the trucks are coming through? Come back and look and see. It's bad enough you've got the ups, what do you call it? The ups, the different trucks coming through. You compound it with these huge, enormous trucks. It's a disaster. And are you going to be responsible for these poor kids or old ladies that are going to get hit by these trucks because they're not paying attention? It's all on you to protect our neighborhood. And apparently you are not doing your job if you agree to this.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Allison Negus. I live at 9 Grandview Drive. Project used to be called Smith Hill. Now it's 10 Grandview Drive, which coincidentally is right next to my house and my property. I know that I can't convince you just because of the damage that will be done to my property, but I do know that trees absorb an awful lot of water, and taking 20 or 25 acres worth of trees off of that land is not only going to cause water problems, but it's going to cause subsidence problems, where that mud is going to come right off that hill because there are no longer any roots to trees that hold that water. So that is also a consideration that I think should be made. Also, apparently there are several solar farms. You know, our neighborhood just got hit with a huge hailstorm, and many of us here are still dealing with the damage from that hailstorm and the effects it's had, and many roofs are getting replaced, and it caused a lot of damage to our homes. And I wonder if anybody has looked at what a bad hailstorm will do to solar panels, because they're made of glass, and I suspect that they wouldn't fare well in a bad hailstorm. And if that happens, say it happens only 2 years after this solar project's been put in, is Cipriani going to replace every solar panel there and keep it running? Or are they going to abandon it then and then have the neighborhood have to deal with all the consequent flooding, runoff, and other problems that we're going to encounter from it without even doing if the dismantling is scheduled for 20 or 30 years off, will they do it if it only lasts 2 or 3 years? You might say that's not a realistic question, but I think it needs to be evaluated and looked at. And I know that the solar company says that they will, that they know that drainage is a problem, that their new design will remedy that drainage problem. But call me a cynic, but I'm not convinced it would remedy our drainage problems, since the drainage problems in that neighborhood have been there since the entire neighborhood was built in the 1950s. And and I do worry about the property value issue, because my property will be the closest one to that solar farm. And every road from Front Street that comes into Morningside Heights funnels up to Grandview Drive, which is a short, small, narrow road which has 9 houses on it. And every one of those trucks would have to come up Grandview Drive, because that's the only access point that is currently there or that will be there. That's the plan. And to see all those logging trucks day after day go up and down that hill, and which it's not designed for, and then have solar panel trucks go up and down, and they say they're going to put them in 5 acres at a time. And so I heard originally they said this project was going to take 3 months. We know that won't happen, because if you do it 5 acres at a time, then you'll have solar panel trucks running up and down for 6 months, a year, 9 months. I know that if you don't live in that area, it's not a big deal to you. But when you do live in that area, and a lot of us do, it's going to damage the roads. It's going to affect the quality of living in the neighborhood. And there seem to be other places where solar farms could be that aren't on hills, that aren't near as close to residential areas. What about the area between 81 and Front Street, where the old pedestrian bike path used to be over the highway?
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, my 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mary Mullaney, and I live on Boland Road. I'm at the bottom where all the water, it's one of the lowest points, let's put it that way. So I really am happy to hear from so many of my neighbors. They're so well-spoken. And I know you took great care with talking about chickens tonight and making sure that they were protected. We're talking about 400 families, homes. I had a very distressing phone call before I came to this meeting tonight. It was from a friend of mine who lives on the west side of Binghamton. They had a solicitor come to their door about solar energy, and that they could purchase solar energy to subsidize their bill. And it happened to be the solar farm that you're proposing to put in our neighborhood. That's a lot of cojones to already be out there soliciting for something that hasn't been approved. So that really bothered me, and I had to say something publicly so people were aware of what's going on behind the scenes. I also was looking, and maybe it's just I haven't looked far enough. I was trying to find the EPA SWPPP form that is supposed to be filled out whenever a proposal like this is made, and I couldn't find it. So if there's some way that you can put it out there in your public record from tonight, I would love to be able to read what the EPA has to say about this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
one more brief comment, and that is, I looked at the agenda from a couple of months ago, and you know, Cipriani has got this ridiculously long web address where their documents are supposed to be posted. I went there the other night, and none of them are posted. All the links are invalid. And I just tried this one, and it came up the same. So I don't know whether they've got a password on these things, but these documents were not there.
Good evening. Thanks for having this open meeting so we could voice our opinions. I have an email that my wife typed up. My name's Mike Beagle. I live at 39 North Morningside, right at the intersection of North Morningside and Circle Drive, right smack dab in the center of the beautiful hillside. I would be remiss if I didn't voice my wife's opinion because she couldn't be here. It's difficult to get out of the house for these times of meetings with a 6- and 7-year-old. My name is, excuse me, my name is Sarah Beagle, and I'm a resident of Morningside Heights on Morningside Drive. I've lived here for 18 years. I've been there for about 11. My husband Michael and I, in addition to many neighbors, have spoken directly to, are adamantly opposed to the solar farm project that is being proposed directly behind our home. Unfortunately, due to timing of the meetings and having small children in school, working full-time, she could not attend. I have come in her place. She has voiced several concerns that all of my neighbors behind me have expressed, but she wanted them to get out there. We weren't sure if the email was received or not. Decrease in property values, solar farms are unsightly eyesores. This is an understatement. We have a beautiful hillside with gorgeous trees and wildlife. We're not willing to have a solar farm destroy what we have here. This time of year off of our back deck is beautiful. Due to the distance of our homes at the bottom of the mountainside, we will be staring directly at the field of panels. Additionally, I am certain there will be electronic white noise generated from the electricity of these panels. We're concerned about environmental disruption to wildlife, destruction of vast amounts of perfectly healthy trees, animals. We have many deer, birds, wildlife that utilize the forest as their homes. I believe building the farm will lead to the destruction of existing ecosystems. How is there a plan to preserve natural habitats? And part of that, I believe I heard come up, was that maybe this company has plans to plant some shrubs and some other trees to help soak up some of the water or possible runoff. My answer to that is, aren't the thousands of trees already there doing a great job? The construction, traffic, and noise disturbance that was brought up right behind me. The young fella that walks, great kid, always up and down the neighborhood. Those trucks, and I will guarantee every single one of them will run my stop sign at the end of Morningside and Circle Drive. I've been in law enforcement for 22 years. I've seen multiple town trucks, city trucks, work trucks, delivery will blow my stop sign. Every single one of those trucks trying to meet their deadline of this solar farm will blast through that stop sign. Construction traffic over a period of 40 years, let me catch my spelling. Okay, over a period of 40 years is what we have read in a proposal for these panels that will maximize their lifespan in 25 years. We have extremely peaceful neighborhood, which has been sought after place to live for many years for many people. the environmental challenges that present with solar farm aging. Currently, we understand there's no efficient way to get rid of solar panels. Now, are they hoping that in the 40 years that they're going to sit there, somebody's going to come up with something to get rid of them?
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate your comment.
My name is Donna Russin, and I live at 32 Johnson Road. I've been to every planning board meeting because I care about my neighborhood. We don't have sidewalks on any of the roads in Morningside Heights or Shenango Shores. This man right here whose son walks, he walks in the road. I have all these young families on Johnson Road, and the kids ride their scooters and bikes in the road. And I think it's going to be really detrimental to our neighborhood for the families. We had a neighbor put a pool in a week ago. There were a couple of trucks coming up, cement trucks, and it was very noisy. And I thought, wow, this drove me nuts for 3 days. I can't imagine 2 years. It's going to be up to 2 years to clear those 22 acres of trees. The other thing I wanted to mention was in the spring, it rained for 5 days straight in our neighborhood, and our backyard was like a river. I actually looked out my patio doors, my sliding doors. It was a foot high, and the water was brown. I couldn't even see the grass, and it was actually scary. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, this is really bad. And it's going to be a lot worse when they remove all the trees and they have retention ponds which are overflowing. I'm not going to get into that. That was already mentioned by a geologist in our area, Ron Brink, planning engineer, Chuck Debnar. I mean, we have people that know how to read reports, how to do planning for these solar farms, and they don't feel that it's being adequately proposed. I am a chairperson for my neighborhood, and we will be obtaining within a week an environmental lawyer to try and stop this. And I don't have a problem with solars on your home. That's fine. You didn't remove 22 trees to put the solar panels up and displace all the animals and have a flooding concern. What I'm concerned about is just ruining our neighborhood. And I know you're required to come to our neighborhood. Please come when it's raining so you can see the stagnant water that's already there. And I just wanted to mention with Mr. Erda, I know back in August, since I've been to every planning board meeting, you recommended a couple engineers in the area, and Mr. Donnelly corrected you and said, we want out of the area. And tonight when I read the agenda, actually I read the agenda a few days ago, the first one you listed was Latham, New York, which is 5 minutes from Cipriani, the solar farm projected here. And back, I have to put my glasses on for this, and back in 2023, and this is public record, page 10 and page 11, you stated that you knew the gentleman that owns a sports complex who happens to be, just so people know, he's Cashew, that owned the property leasing to Soprani Solar Group. And I have asked you several times, you've had phone calls from Chuck Debnar, who's a planning engineer. I thought, oh, we have an engineer, a town engineer. He's going to talk to Chuck. He's going to find out the problems this could cause, you know, the flooding, the soil. No calls were made to him. And I'm not excited anymore that I have a town engineer that doesn't really seem to support us as he does Cipriani. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity for us all to speak, and thank you all for coming tonight. So I put a letter in today, And you guys have that. I'm just going to go over some highlights of my letter and express my concerns. My name is Kathleen Burke. I probably should have started with that. I live at 37 Hickory Road. I've resided in the neighborhood for over 40 years, and I love the neighborhood. So I live in the neighborhood on Hickory Road with my husband. We both support renewable energy in principle, but for this location, we have many concerns, and some of which have been expressed tonight, but they do bear repeating. So the project raises serious concerns regarding flooding. Our neighborhood, as you know, has experienced significant flooding, including significant events in November of 2006, June of 2006, March and September of 2011, April of 2017, and July of 2021. All of this has caused property damage and overwhelmed local drainage systems. Large-scale clearing and grading of a multi-acre solar installation will increase impervious surfaces, disrupt natural water absorption, and exacerbate stormwater runoff, putting homes, roads, and infrastructure in both towns at greater risk than we're already at. People have discussed the potential of home property values being an issue, that might be with the large arrays, fencing, and associated infrastructure would significantly change the landscape of the land, and developments may negatively affect our property values. Environmental impacts such as the forested land, with all of that, the deforestation over 20-some acres. The land supports wildlife and helps provide natural drainage. Clearing this area would disrupt the ecosystem, increase stormwater runoff, and reduce soil productivity. The permanent industrial infrastructure, including fencing and electrical connections, will create long-term impacts for residents. For the aforementioned reasons and those that others have said today, I urge you to please deny the approval of this application. Our community supports clean energy when it is responsible, but this project, as proposed, is not consistent with the best interest of our neighborhood and collective towns. I'd like to thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you.
Hi, Wendy Ramsey, Front Street, Town of Dickinson. One thing that hasn't been noted, all these different floods have been listed, but one thing that hasn't been noted is when the 2006 flood hit and the water came up, backed up from the river because the flap under 81 was missing, we made a comment that, hey, we need to get this flap back on. And we were told the flap can't go back on until we do an environmental study downriver to see who it's going to hurt. Now, I had a copy of the plans because I worked the 81-88 connector, clearly showed that a flap was there but got missed, but they still didn't put it on until 2013. So I flooded 5 times. I lost everything 5 times. I've gotten pretty darn good at doing drywall if you need any help with that. But I can't keep doing this. So I'm really hoping that our town board, our people you're here to really look at what you can do to help us. And even if it's not just the solar farm, coming into the neighborhood and saying, hey, how can we help you prevent this from happening in the future? Looking, do we need better drainage? What can help us? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Andrea Zoldbrecht. I live on North Morningside. And it's a given that we're all going to get flooded. Everyone talks about it. Everyone knows it. I'd like everyone for a minute to imagine this blue curtain here is a beautiful mountain, beautiful foliage. Let's take all that away. And now imagine those ugly white tables are now instead of our beautiful mountain. Take those ugly white tables, and there's your solar farm. There's our beautiful mountain gone. Flooding, that's a no-brainer. We're going to flood again. I'm an electrician, and I can tell you another thing that we haven't talked that much about, Mike talked about a little bit, is the white noise that comes off of these solar farms. If y'all think transformers are loud when you hear electrical transformer going, imagine the noise that these solar panels are going to make, let alone the ugliness, the flooding, the lack of beauty. Now this curtain is an ugly solar farm that's hurting all of us. And I had just one more question, not a question, but my first question. I'd like to know if anyone on the board lives in our neighborhood. Because if any of you lived in our neighborhood, you would absolutely be against this from the bottom of your heart.
Bush. I've been in the neighborhood for 55 years now. I live on Smith Hill. And the main thing I haven't heard is what good this is going to do any of us, because from what I've heard, the electricity and everything from the solar panels is being sold to other places. We don't keep it in our area. So why are we going through all this if we're not going to get anything from it? You know, if it was helping us on our electric bills or something, I could see it, like in your home. But this isn't helping anybody. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again, my name is Barbara Seifer, 18 Johnson Road. I just wanted to bring up something that I have been researching a lot about these solar installations. Basically, it's a energy factory, and you're going to put it near a residential area. One of the main concerns that I've seen online is people are very, very concerned about the risk of fires with these things. If there is a fire, does the normal firefighting method work with the type of chemicals and materials in these things? I mean, you're going to put this right next to hundreds of homes. So that is another consideration to think of when you're trying to decide what to do here. And for the record, I oppose this project. I think it's irresponsible. If you want to put solar in, put it somewhere like on the top of the Northgate Plaza or on the top of some parking garages somewhere. It doesn't belong right next to a residential area. You've heard all of these people say that they love their neighborhood, and we do. We walk there. We don't have sidewalks. We pay a lot of taxes. We don't have sidewalks and curbs, but we use the road, and we have a neighborhood that we are enjoying, and we would like to keep it that way.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to cancel, or not cancel, but
Good evening. I'm from the town of Vestal, so if I am not allowed to speak, please say so, but I do have a couple points. Okay. As far as it's been brought up with everybody with the flooding, I can tell you I've worked for the town of Vestal for 35 years. I've seen every form of damage since 1983 when I was hired. Flash flooding is going to destroy this neighborhood. You're not going to get basement water. You're going to lose homes. Look at Twin Orchards. How many homes are gone down in Vestal from the 2011 flood? You get a flash flood coming off from that hill, those retention ponds are not going to hold it. They're going to slide right down the hill. Now you got mud, and it's going to take out homes. I can't sit here and listen to everybody speaking to not be able to point out the damages. You're going to have intense damages, and you're going to lose a whole neighborhood. I can guarantee it. I've seen it. Second point I'd like to make, they're talking about their electric bills and the benefits of a solar farm. You're not going to see any benefits. It's going to benefit when you put it on top of your house. But all the electricity that this thing generates, it's not going right back into your bills. It's not reducing your bills. Look at everything that's been built throughout the state. Main Endwell, 96, Route 96 going out through Owego, Candor. There's a huge farm there. There's another one right in Campville, New York. There's another one on Glenwood Road off there at the town of Dickinson. Look at the ones up in Cortland, huge. Everywhere. Have your bills been going down? And it affects you guys too. My bill's been going up since these things have been getting built. And it's my understanding, and I would like you to look into it for the sake of these people, that who pays for the connection? You do. I can guarantee it. I know a person that works on them, and they get sent right back into your bill. It might not say solar farm hookup. They have it in a hidden little thingy there, just like they always have been getting away with. You're paying for the hookups. That should go on to the company, but it should not go in to begin with. And that's where you guys can stop it. All you have to do is say no, and it does not advance to the town board, and it gets put away. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. At this point, we're going to table the public hearing.
I have done research about where these solar panels.
Ma'am.
I have a very loud voice. I just want to say this. In my travels talking to some of our neighbors, one person brought up to me, where do these solar panels come from? So I did do some research, and you might want to look into that. They are using forced labor and child labor in China and also in the Congo area to mine the silicone, I guess, and I don't know every part of it, but to mine this material that they then create the panels out of. I know we've got to come up with a better way to make solar panels because, yes, we need them on homes, but we also need them to be not made by forced and child labor.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to table the public hearing. It isn't closed, it's just tabled, and we'll be continuing it at our next meeting, which will be actually on the 27th of October, because we're going to be doing the solar projects on the 4th Monday of each month as a separate meeting. It'll be here again next month. Can I get a motion from someone?
I make a motion that we have a separate meeting for the solar farm projects at the school on the 4th Monday of the month.
I'll second.
Diane?
Mr. Carnegie? Mrs. Masternardi?
Aye.
Mr. Zenner? Mr. Eldridge? Mr. Donlin?
Motion to adjourn.